Minister of Health, Social Affairs and Labor, the Honorable Minister Emil Lee. I also acknowledge the presence of Mrs. Shermina Powell-Richardson, representing the Minister of Education, Sylvia Jacobs, this evening. Welcome. And as well as our honorable guests from overseas, I have with me Chief Dr. Winston Warren, PhD, Professor of EMS at Daytona State College in Florida. Chief Hezidine Smith, Chairman of the Emergency Service Advisory Council for the Caribbean Association of Fire Chiefs. I also have with us this evening Mr. Robert Earle Powell, paramedic instructor at the Fire and Rescue of Washington, D.C., USA. Assistant Chief Mr. Modestus John Baptist, NRP of St. Croix Rescue Academy. Sergeant Mrs. Maribel Hernandez. Right, she's coming forward. As well as Sergeant Mrs. Patricia Joseph of St. Croix Rescue Academy. And our local instructors as well. Our medical director, Dr. Simmons. Our course coordinator, Mrs. Ans Reinbold. Local practical instructor, Field Commander, Mr. Merlin Aventurin. Assistant Secretary of the Board of the Wiems, Mistress Scott Shondell. I don't think I missed anyone. Did I miss someone? No, I called him. Didn't I? I also have with me one of our members as well, Mrs. Emerita Richardson. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and not forgetting our graduates for whom this night is very special. I also have with us, not forgetting our PR, Mr. Junior Gomes. Can you stand, please? And also our actors. We had our actors, real actors for the training, the scenarios. Can you all stand in the back, ladies and gents? They were very important for this occasion. They're waving. And is there anyone else that I'm missing? Luann, our treasurer, the money lady, is hiding away from me. Also, anyone else? I don't think.
I appreciate very much being invited tonight to this milestone event. I think it's really a wonderful celebration. Happy Father's Day. Today was a wonderful day for me, a very relaxing day. I hope you enjoyed your Father's Day as well. A congratulations to the President, Ms. Maria Chermont, who clearly exudes passion and commitment. I think we're all very lucky to have her as President. Special recognition also to the medical instructors that are here. It's quite an impressive list. And of course, a special welcome to the EMT graduates and their family. This is obviously a very proud moment for you. On behalf of the people of St. Martin, on behalf of the government, and on behalf of my family, I'd like to thank you all for everything that you do. Clearly, what you do is a calling of passion and commitment, and really what you do for St. Martin is critical and very important. You know, in a previous life, before becoming minister, I was general manager of a small hotel in St. Martin. So small that actually we close our front desk at a certain hour in the evening. And as the resident general manager as well, what it meant is that I would always get the phone calls late in the evening whenever there was an emergency on property. So I had the luxury or the honor of being able to observe many of your colleagues at work, because whenever there was any sort of a medical emergency, they would call me in order to coordinate to make sure that the ambulance knew where to go. And so I have had the opportunity to really watch all of your training, all of your work in progress, in action, and I must say that I'm very impressed. Growing up in a family of physicians, also I'm very much aware that efficient, well-trained first responders is really critical to the success in terms of what happens with patients that have medical emergencies. So again, hats off to you. I've seen your work in action, and I thank you for what you've done to date. The other thing I'd like to recognize, I understood from the President that this is the first time now that you have a pilot program for the Caribbean Registry of EMTs. So I understand what that means is that you're reaching out within the Caribbean and working together with others. And this very much follows suit with what I've always been trying to do. I always think that in a region, in a world actually, where resources are more and more limited, it becomes more important to work together with your fellow colleagues to share best practices, and I also say it also is very important to share worst practices, because I believe you can learn as much from what other people have made mistakes with, what they've done wrong, as well as what they've done correctly. And so, again, I applaud you for that. So, congratulations tonight, and thank you very much for having me.
I am the head of the Youth Affairs Department for the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports. And I'm here on behalf of the Honorable Minister, Ms. Sylvia Jacobs, of the same ministry, who extends her congratulations to the organization as well as to the graduates this evening. You know, it's not easy. I was just speaking with the Honorable Minister, and I said, are you keeping account of the amount of engagements that you have? And he said no. But that's good, because maybe it might become a little scary. In any case, we want to ask God's strength upon them, because it's not easy to be different places. So on behalf of the Honorable Minister, I extend to you congratulations this evening. And I've understood that this organization is 24 years today. Or this year rather, you're 24 years old. I've also understood that this organization is now legally recognized by the government of St. Martin since last year in terms of certification. But I also know for a fact that Wiems has become a household name on this island and is working with government and the community in the area of disaster management. And I also realized that to work in this area, it must be a calling of one with a heart of compassion. Now, this is not my field. I'm in the education field, and I always say, hats off for those who are called 24/7, because it must be a calling, it must be a compassion, it must be a commitment for you to be ready at all times. And one who cares for people and one who clearly loves people will meet the needs of others at all times and at any time. You see, some of us, like I said earlier, my person, I have an 8 to 5 job, but today I'm representing the minister as well. And so it's easy for us after 5 to go home to our families. But the EMS they don't know the time. And so they must always be on the watch. The only way you can be on call is when you truly have the calling to serve others, because it's all about others. It's not about you. It's not about someone else it's all about someone else who needs your assistance. This reminds me of a scriptural reference when Jesus was amongst the crowd in Matthew 14:14. When Jesus saw the crowd, he was moved by compassion. And I'm sure that when EMS is called, they're moved by compassion to come and to assist. So he touched lives of many persons, and that is what I believe and what I see the Wiems is doing at this particular moment. You have understood the importance, therefore, of also preparing yourselves adequately to do so. And you have understood the importance of a lifelong learning process, because I understood that some are being recertified as well, so they've already engaged in the process before. For this, on behalf of the Honorable Government, yes, it is a government because they're all one, on behalf of the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, I wish to congratulate you, the board, Madam Chemont, continue the good works, continue to keep your team together, because that's what it's all about. And I encourage the entire society to support the Wiems, because also that word of encouragement will take them a long way. So once more, congratulations to the graduates, and much success in your future endeavors. God bless you.
We had this opportunity to explore a piloting process that would establish some basis for standardization of the credentialing for EMS providers across the Caribbean. And this opportunity was afforded to us with the group here, and we're very appreciative of that opportunity. I want to say that I was very impressed with the competencies that were demonstrated in the skills assessment and also in the cognitive assessment components thereof. We realized that strangers, but we're not strangers. I'm originally a Jamaican, and my partner, Dr. Warren, is also from Barbados, so we're islanders. We're islanders. So I had a few questions, though, I wanted to ask before I got into what the whole idea is about this Caribbean Emergency Services Registry. How many EMTs are there in the United States? Anybody know? There's over 600,000 EMTs in the United States. The next question I have is, how many EMTs are in the Caribbean? 30. At least 30 for now, right? How many countries have legislation that support the scope of practice for EMS providers in the Caribbean? Anybody knows? Trinidad and Tobago and the Bahamas. Now, my understanding is that there's EMS being done under the public health endeavors, and EMS exists across the Caribbean. So the Caribbean Fire Chief Association identified an opportunity whereas to address some of the gaps within that process, and recognizing that we need to have an idea how many EMTs are trained across the Caribbean. And by doing so, the benefits thereof would be reaped not only by the island specifically, but across the entire Caribbean, because in times of disaster, having an idea where EMTs are and their capabilities, very important. So that's what the Caribbean Association of Fire Chiefs has determined as an important endeavor to undertake. And the process simply involved the initial piloting that we're doing here, a registration process. The Department of Transportation is a curriculum that is taught across the Caribbean. And us coming in here with no idea about the quality of the education, the competency of the students, we wanted to see how they would match up with the assessment processes that happens in other countries in the United States. So that's what we brought here to evaluate as a pilot project. So with that said, we are going to move forward in evaluating current EMTs and new EMT as well in terms of a credentialing process. And ultimately, our goal is to provide an opportunity for what we call reciprocity from island to island. Because your competency that you demonstrated to yesterday and the last few days should be commensurate with the standard across the Caribbean and also across borders. So congratulations for you demonstrating those competencies. In over 28 years in EMS in Orlando, I started in the Air Force for about 4 years, and I'm the EMS chief for Orlando Fire Department. It was a privilege to be here. I made a commitment to be here, and I'm here. I'm here. So I'm very appreciative of the opportunity, and I want to say thank you and congratulations to the graduates.
Been a long time coming, hasn't it? Yes. But first of all, I'd like for you guys to stand up. And these people here, these are the people that probably ran those errands, maybe stood in for you at work, or did the things you couldn't do because you were hitting that book and trying to get to this night. Give them a round of applause. You give them a round of applause. Sit down. Each and every one of you tonight is an ambassador of this class. A class that earmarks a new delivery of EMS care in the Caribbean. Okay. You guys were selected to be the first class. Upon hearing that the Caribbean Fire Chiefs Association would have come here and evaluate you, well, right away, that meant competition to me. That meant that you had to get here tonight, and you, by getting here, set the bar. And our job up here, down there, is for every island nation following you. When they want to see where St. Martin set the bar, they got to look up. You hear me? Okay. That's the way we got to try it. And whoever follows in our path, then they got the work cut out for them. Okay? Now, I came here 2 weeks ago today, 14 days ago, and I have worked 13 of those 14 days. I've been fussing, threatening, and cussing. Yeah, right. So you want to raise both hands? Every day I'm fussing at Ryan about something. He come, and I'm saying, Ryan, you know better than stuff. Because see, Ryan's about 6'6", you know. And by me being only 6'2", he's a little bit taller than me. You know? What's funny about me being 6'2"? Okay. But the thing is, all of that work and all of that time put in, because the time is not only put in standing here talking to you, it's put in standing, preparing to talk to you. When I come up here and look down there and see you guys sitting there, all that makes it worthwhile. And for that, I want to say thank you for this view. Love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, the graduating class of the Wiems 2016. Let me say a pleasant good evening to everyone. I bring you greetings on behalf of my colleagues at the Caribbean Association of Fire Chiefs, an organization that spreads the entire diaspora, the Caribbean diaspora, representing some 26 member states of CARICOM. I know that many of my colleagues will wish to be here tonight to celebrate with our graduates, but fortunately for me and my colleagues here, we have the responsibility to represent them tonight. I've been here many, many times. We've been working with Wiems for the last 3 years, and I feel like a Samatiner. So of course, Maria, that means I'm going to have to buy a house here and set up an office and so forth. On a serious note, though, I wish to congratulate the graduates this evening who have worked very, very hard, who have demonstrated their skills and competencies to the evaluators from the Caribbean Association of Fire Chiefs over the last 3 days. I will tell you, it is clear to me that they have worked very, very hard. They have studied very hard. They have formed collegial bonds of friendship. I saw a lot of good, positive interaction. And I'm proud to say I believe that they're the best trained in the Caribbean and in this region to date. Thanks to Wiems. Let me recognize the good work that Wiems have been doing here in this community. I know that it's not very easy, the undertaking that Wiems have been providing emergency care here in the community and training for so many years, 24 years? Wow, that's a lot of years. It is clear to me that the commitment of Wiems to this community is enormous. And I see that in our communications with them. When we were organizing this training, I recognize the passion that Maria and her group had and the seriousness that they took on this undertaking to make the people of St. Martin better safe, or more safe and better prepared with regards to the emergency services, responding to their needs and providing medical care. To the graduates, I want to say to you that an awesome responsibility once again has been placed on your shoulders. Those of you who are registering for the first time or becoming certified for the first time, we congratulate you. Those of you who decided to re-register and continue forward, I congratulate you. This undertaking is not an easy one. You're going to be called in the middle of the night, way in the morning. You're going to be called when you're out at the disco or the club, wherever you socialize. And I will tell you, as you've seen the events that Chief Smith's department had to deal with just last week, that actually can happen anywhere in the world. So you're going to be called upon at odd hours and with very little notice to take care of your citizens, your fellow citizens here in St. Martin. And I urge you to stay prepared. Continue to read that textbook. Continue to seek additional education. More importantly, I would like to see in the next 2 or 3 years here we are graduating paramedics. I think that you are on the right track, and I believe clearly that your commitment and with your steadfast work with the emergency medical services, I believe you can get to that paramedic level. We will offer, in the next few years, I don't know, maybe by next year, probably by next year we should be offering the advanced EMT course. And then hopefully in a short order, we will work to get you to the paramedic level. I've seen many paramedics in this group already. And from the skills that we saw and the reports that Dr. Warren provided me and the feedback I've received from Chief Smith, I am very, very sure that you are going to get there in short order. So the goal for you would be to attain your emergency medical technician paramedic certification. I will tell you, it may be a bit frightening to some in the medical community, but it would be a good thing for your community. If we can bring the medication, the cardiac monitor, all of the equipment that is typically in your casualty unit or in your emergency room, if we can get that on board the ambulance and have it out there in the streets, I think that we will save more lives here in country St. Martin. Are you in agreement with me? So I wish to indicate a strong commitment from the Caribbean Association of Fire Chiefs and the Emergency Services Advisory Council, who's working very hard to bring this throughout the Caribbean to make sure that we have paramedics functioning in the field in the next 5 to 10 years. Tomorrow, Dr. Bayer and Chief Smith join us to the Turks and Caicos, where CROIX is meeting, where the heads of government and the health ministers of the Caribbean will be meeting, and we will be making a presentation there to promote what we're doing in the Caribbean and also get their endorsement and approval for standardized training across the Caribbean. And some of the data that is collected here in the last couple of days will be shared with them. And so we believe that the effort here this past week will help broadly move the Caribbean forward in pre-hospital emergency medical care of our citizens.